refusing to release investigative report on assault of a journalist. We have details for you. Also, Chamber of Pharmacy pushes for the fast tracking of vaccine production in the country to forestall shortage challenges.
We should be thinking of reducing the basic products, not only vaccines, but even basic drugs. As COVID has shown, you can't depend on other countries.
Also coming up, Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority describes as false assertion by heavy truck drivers who say they are forced to park dangerously on the motorway because they are awaiting documentation from harbour authorities.
Once they move from the yard, it is assumed that all documentation is completed. So it is not true that documentation is not ready and they have been released.
In business, oil exploration firms in Ghana warn current regulatory environment threatens fresh investment and could push some companies out. More on the Joy Business Report later.
And also later in the bulletin, how Chief One broke into the music space, rapping and singing in Ewe.
I don't think it's luck. I think it's hard work.
Do you think language is a barrier?
Musically, I don't think it's a barrier because music itself is a language. So.
More from Chief One on show business later in the bulletin. This is Joy News, independent, fearless and credible. My name is Mamavi Owusu-Aboagye. Details of the stories now. Now, Minister for National Security Albert Kandapa has been ordered to pay the Right to Information Commission 50,000 Ghana cedis within 14 days. This is contained in the decision of the Commission on a case brought before it by the Fix the Country convener Oliver Barker-Vomawo. Mr. Vomawo had asked the ministry to release information relating to its probe into the alleged assault of journalist Caleb Kuda. My colleague Joseph Akabley joins me with more. Joseph, we understand the ministry did not even bother to assist the Right to Information Commission with its work. Tell us more.
In fact, when Oliver Barker-Vomawo made a request to the National Security Ministry, he did not receive a response. Then he made a repeat request to the head of the ministry, that is the minister, no response. Then he petitioned the Right to Information Commission. The commission wrote requesting comments from the National Security Ministry and did not receive a response for almost 12 months, leading it to determine the matter just on its own without hearing from the National Security Ministry.
And just also run us through the pieces of information to be released.
And so the first is the report of the investigative committee set up by the ministry to investigate the arrest of Caleb Kuda of City FM. Then also the standard operating procedures of the National Security, which was referred to in the statement that the National Security released on the matter, the specific aspects of the standard operating procedure which were found to have been contravened. There's some other information that they are not supposed to release, that is the CCTV recordings of the interrogation of the journalist, as well as the CCTV recordings of the Caleb Kuda's movements within a complex of the National Security.
And that's my colleague Joseph Akabley with details of how the National Security Minister refused to release investigative report on assault of journalist Caleb Kuda. Now, former Chief Justice Sophia Kufu has expressed concern regarding what she says is the decline in love for peace in Ghana. Equally disturbing is what she describes as a lack of integrity. She was speaking at the University of Ghana public lecture on Ghana's 66th independence celebration with anti-corruption campaigner Manasseh Azuri-Awene as keynote speaker. Here are excerpts.
Our only hope with the executive arm of government is that one day we may get a president who is honest and willing to tackle the rot in our country. The legislature is a lost cause. Our parliamentarians do not represent us. Dear judges, if your mouths are gagged, your conscience should be free. And if you ungag your conscience while you are on the bench, you may have no reason or cause to ungag your mouth when you are on retirement. If our church should be taken seriously, I think it should make its voice audible in the restoration of integrity in our society. The middle class. The middle class is supposed to hold the ruling class accountable to the working class. Some only make noise, and when they are invited to the dining table, they observe table manners and leave the poor to their fates. When the mess finally hit the ceiling and the investment of the middle class was threatened, they began to realize how their silence is hurting everyone, including themselves.
We have ceased to be peace-loving people, and the things we say about and to each other do not foment peace, but somehow God keeps fanning down and toning down the things that we are planning to do to each other.
And that's former Chief Justice Sophia Kufu. Before that, you heard from Manasseh Azure-Awene. They were speaking at the University of Ghana's lecture on Ghana's 66th Independence Anniversary celebration. Now, authorities at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority have described as false the assertion by heavy truck drivers that they have been left with no option but to park dangerously close to the highway since the port will not accommodate them while they wait for documentation for their cargo. The drivers made a claim in our latest feature on the state of the Accra-Tema motorway. Listen to General Manager Marketing and Corporate Affairs at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority.
I was tempted to tell you that they are lying. The transit cargo will never be released for them to even get to motorway if they have not completed their documentation. Once they move from the yard, it is assumed that all documentation is completed and they have to go to the border. So it is not true that documentation is not ready and they have been released.
And that's General Manager Marketing and Corporate Affairs at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Esther J.B. Donko. Meanwhile, barely 24 hours after we aired the report, the Regional Coordinating Council has evicted the drivers from the station. Municipal Chief Executive of Ashaman, Albert Boakye Otre, vowed the drivers will not be allowed to return.
So today, we embarked on a very serious action against them by getting all of them out of that place. And I can bet you, today marks the end of their parking in that place, those areas. But what we intend to do.
And that's MCE for Ashaman. Now, the Chamber of Pharmacy Ghana is pushing for vaccine production to be accelerated in the country to forestall future shortages. The Health Ministry has been unable to get the drugs, with the Nurses and Midwifery Association pushing for a declaration of a national emergency on the situation. But to avoid such challenges in the future, National Chairman of the Chamber of Pharmacy, Harrison Abutiate, is urging government to hurry vaccine production in the country.
We have an institute that is producing vaccine. We can introduce the others. And to me, then would have had the personnel, would have had the facilities. And if we are producing enough, we could bring down the cost of production. And that would be helpful.
And that's now Chairman of the Chamber of Pharmacy, Harrison Abutiate, there. On to our Ghana Month series. And fetching water with a basket sounds like a fruitless and unintelligent thing to do. But can you believe that this is very possible? Well, in our Ghana Month series, Kojo Yankson takes you to Ada to meet traditional priests who are able to fetch water in baskets without the water dripping.
The world turned its eyes on Ada this year as their annual Asafotufiami festival drew tourists and visitors from across the globe. This cultural extravaganza commemorates the numerous military victories chalked up throughout history by the ancestral people of the Ada Kingdom. We are here for the first time to experience it all for ourselves. The loud rhythmic drumming and the bright red clothing, the unceremonious loud bark of the muskets and the heady mixed aroma of gunpowder and goat kebab leaves one in no doubt whatsoever that you are at a festival. One by one, the clans line up on either side of the road. The second half of today's ceremony takes place on the riverbank. This is where the whole Ada township follows their traditional leaders to the waterfront to thank the gods for victory and to cleanse their bodies after the bloody battle.
Now, that man, that priest, is going to use the basket to fetch water from the river. And the water will not spill. That's a basket full of water that's not spilling. All right?
Well, you've heard it. You want to see it. It will be on television on the Joy News channel. Now, to showbiz, musician Chief One says language is not a barrier to making waves in the music space. The singer and rapper delivers fine tunes in the Ewe dialect and is determined to take this far. Take a listen.
I don't think luck. I think it's hard work because I started this not today, and people know they vibe like that before.
Do you think language is a barrier?
musically, I don't think it's a barrier because music itself is a language. So if the vibe is there, we play songs that we don't understand. Yeah. So it's not a barrier for me because I'm here like this. People stream my song in US, Spain, a lot of places.
Oh, I know.
I can't pay the 3 people to loving my song. So like if it's a barrier, they will not even pay attention to me. So
if you're my bad days, Monday.
And that's Chief Wonder speaking to Andy Dusty. And that's how we end the news at 6. Our top story. There's our National Security Minister slapped with a 50,000 cedi penalty for refusing to release investigative report on assault of a journalist. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. My name is Mamavi Owusu-Aboagye.